Hello and welcome to another episode of the Arsenalholics. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. Lads, how's it going?
One
One of those.
Well,
one of them
Aaron
ones.
wanted. Aaron said the last episode they can just give us a nice 2-0.
Needs to support
all I
the
ask
team.
for is a routine win where there's no drama. But no, we don't even get the win.
Drama every 5 minutes.
We have a lot to discuss today, so I think we should just crack on with it.
Let's kick off. Yeah. So 2-1 defeat away to Villarreal. It was a pretty bad first half, to say the least. We obviously came back into it in the second half and have managed to get that away goal, which puts us in a decent position for the second leg. It's obviously not an ideal result, but that away goal could potentially be massive for us. What are your guys' thoughts just generally on the game and performance?
It's hard to have a general view on that game because it was just madness. I mean, I think overall, I think it was just a car crash first half. Nothing good going forward, no good ideas, questionable formation, questionable tactics, poor defensive organization, poor defensive execution, you name it. And then the second half was just kind of madness, wasn't it? Don't even know where to start with the second half.
But then, having said all that, right, if you had, it's a bit cliche, but if you'd offered us 2-1 after about 55 minutes, I would have taken it easily. So we got very, very lucky, I think, is what I take from that. The tie, in my opinion, probably deserved to be over. I think Villarreal will be very, very annoyed. And I'm not sure if we have enough to beat them in the second leg, but at least we're not, facing, because I thought it was going to be 4 or 5-0 after Ceballos got sent off. So, I'm just glad we're still in the tie somehow.
I think 2-1 right now. If you look at a two-legged European tie, I think 2-1 is like a drawing. We're even sort of finally poised at the moment, going to the second leg, being at home. Obviously, our record at home has been questionable of late, so not sure if that that home advantage will be there as it should be. But yeah, we need to perform a lot better if we want to get anything out of this tie and progress. Don't think we can get away with another performance like this today.
No, agreed. So let's have a chat about the first half then. As you guys say, it's quite hard to almost generalize the performance. I mean, first half, you guys touched on it. It was pretty bad, and obviously a bad start in terms of conceding a goal in the first few minutes. I think it was in the fifth minute, wasn't it? Something like that. This goal obviously came kind of down our left-hand side, their right-hand side. We've been talking about in the last couple of episodes, once Saka, if he's playing left back, comes up against someone, a slightly trickier player or more dangerous player. And Aaron, and you mentioned, what's his name again?
Chukwueze.
Chukwueze, yeah. You mentioned him in the preview, didn't you? And you can't really blame Saka for this. I mean, and I'm not blaming him, even though I've been questioning I'm questioning his selection in that position, and I still am. And I think today, he had a decent game, to be honest, overall. But it was an incident. It was kind of like an isolated incident where you wanted him to go and press the player outside the box, and he, understandably stood off him and allowed him into the box, and the danger kind of came from that. It got a bit lucky, as you said, Raj, in our WhatsApp chat. You said got a bit lucky with how the goal came about, or how the chance came about. It was a very, very good finish, but it was that left-hand side for us that ultimately was our undoing for the first goal.
Yeah, I think the reason why I was a little bit sympathetic, should I say, is that I felt that early on in the game, especially that early on in the game, I couldn't imagine Xhaka or really any left back for that matter, like necessarily trying to lunge in and try and, maybe go and hit the attacker with the fear of the guy beating him and you getting a yellow card that early on in the game. And so backing off, I didn't think was too much of an issue. And to be honest, if you look at it, we get into a situation where we've actually got two defenders, both kind of, we've got two players on Chukwueze. Like before he's done anything, Ceballos is there with Xhaka. So you'd hope in that moment, okay, you've done enough. You hope to stop anything really dangerous from happening. But ultimately, I think the problem is by that point, he's in a dangerous area of the pitch. He's already in the box, basically, or right on the edge of. So all it took was for the ball to break kindly. And you've got, a guy who, as you said, Miles, it was a really good finish. But, when it's in the box, and anything can happen. And I think we paid the price perhaps for just allowing him to progress so far with the ball. But it was one of those things that I wonder, I don't know if you guys noticed. I mean, I wonder if there was anything that happened in the build up to that we should have done differently. And I think what if I remember correctly, it felt like they beat our press quite easily, which was disappointing because it feels like that would have been an area that we would have really, really worked on.
Yeah, I need to see it again, but I think I agree. Like the fact that it broke loose to Trigueros in the box, it was just unlucky, and he finished it well. But we know that playing Xhaka there is a risk, and we know we're taking a risk. But the idea is that you don't let a situation develop where when you know they've got a tricky winger, you make sure he's not running at Xhaka. And I don't think we did that well enough. And especially in the last 10 minutes, I thought Xhaka did really well in that game because he was left isolated almost all the time. But yeah, it looked like they beat our press really well. They ran out our defense. And I just thought the whole game, our midfield was just absolutely awful. But Partey and Ceballos, just dreadful. And I had high hopes of Ceballos in this game because I thought, Spanish players played in La Liga. Probably like this is a game that might be played at his tempo, where he would get that extra touch or that extra little bit of space to play a few good passes. But he was awful. Partey, again, should be well experienced at this level to boss these games, but was equally as awful.
I thought I think it's, especially because Xhaka's obviously playing out of position. I don't think he did much wrong for that first goal. I think if he had sort of lunged in and gave away a penalty, it would have been, a lot worse and got booked early on. I think with that bit, him bringing the player in, I don't think it was the worst thing. I think the player who scored the goal was completely left unmarked. Like no one was, when he was running for, no one was tracking him back. He was just left pretty much. Obviously, there was a bit of a luck element there, but still there's been someone sort of marking him. And sort of when you look at it, the other side, we were in that position where that attacker was for them. But every time, we tried to cross it in or play it in, there was no options there. So letting that player into the box, I don't think was the worst thing that Xhaka did. We should have cut out all the options for him to play that pass. And I think that's where we went wrong.
And on the replays, it looks like that was Partey. It looks like Partey was slow
I think it was
getting
Partey.
to that guy.
Yeah, because I think Foyth ran past Ceballos. Ceballos was playing catch up from the beginning, and Partey should have sort of covered it off. So again, Saka for us, he took on players. He got into that attacking position. So did Pepe, but options were cut out. We should have cut out that option. So you can't, especially considering Xhaka's playing out of position. It's harsh to put any sort of blame on him, I think.
Just building on what you said, Aaron, and before, like I was surprised with Ceballos' selection today, purely based on I didn't like the comments he made. I think the other day to a news outlet. I don't know if you read it.
No.
Okay, I didn't like it in the sense that it told me something about his mentality going into this last kind of period of game. So what he said in this interview was basically said quite positive things about playing at Arsenal, but he said, I've realized that I'm more suited to La Liga, right? So he's sort of basically saying, like, I prefer La Liga to the Premier League. So for me, I thought, all right, well, do you know what? Even if he is a professional and consciously he's going to try and give 100% every game, unconsciously, if that's what he believes, then, well, consciously and, consciously that's what he believes, but unconsciously on the pitch, how is that going to manifest? And that bothered me a little bit, because it feels like, does that mean that he's going into these games, for Arsenal feeling like, do you know what, this isn't the best I can play because it's not, the right environment for me, etc. But to your point, Aaron, today was against a La Liga opposition. And therefore it's against a team which he is claiming that he, quite enjoys playing in this league, against those types of teams. And with him and Partey should be playing, is so experienced at playing the likes of Villarreal. On paper, it should have been a fantastic, way of optimizing the quality of those two players. And actually, I thought Ceballos was okay for the first 15 minutes. I thought arguably he was our best player on the ball. I thought he made some really nice passes. He was very direct. He looked lively. But then he just nosedived. And
that's Ceballos for you. He's got the quality. He can play a good pass when he has the space. And he did play a few good passes at the start. I think he played Pepe in once, a really good pass there. But he just doesn't have the ability to boss a game for 90 minutes. And you need that with your central midfielders in these big games. You need them to turn up. And it wasn't just Ceballos. I think Partey is equally his fault. And I expect more from Partey than I do from Ceballos. But Ceballos he's not at that level. He's not good enough. Maybe he will be. I know he's still relatively young. How old is he? 24, 25? So, he might get there, but, to do it, I don't see it. I haven't ever seen it in him, to be honest.
Yeah, I think I agree with you guys pretty much on Ceballos. And I don't necessarily think, Raj, that he was our best player in the first, I think it's 20 minutes or so. I think it was a couple of really good balls that he put through, but for me, I thought Ødegaard stood out again. But yeah, for obvious reasons, he had another solid game. And then, we seem to have a bit of a resurgence after we conceded without actually, we didn't create anything in terms of chances, but we sort of responded quite well. We seemed to dominate possession a little bit. But yeah, again, I think we've talked about this loads of times, lack of cutting edge in the final third was obviously a massive problem. And then we conceded the second goal from the corner, which was just, what do you say about this? How we've seen this so much as Arsenal fans over the years, and we've been talking about our centre-back options and who's the right pairing and what are the qualities that X player brings over Y and so on. And and then you go and concede a goal like that in a semi-final of basically our biggest game of the season and a massive semi-final where we've gone 1-0 down. The whole objective should just be, look, we get the away goal and it changes the whole complexion of the tie. So keep it tight. And it's just such a, they didn't have to do anything. It was a good ball in, don't get me wrong, but Mari just lets his man go. And I think it's Partey, just, again, he's ball watching as well and just lets his man go. Albiol, wasn't it, at the far post? Just rubbish.
I think the real disappointment as well is that this season, we've been one of the best teams in the Premier League in terms of defending set pieces. Our stats are really, really good. And we've conceded, I think, 3 goals this season from set pieces, which is, I think, joint lowest in the Premier League. And so when you think about that, you think the Premier League, the amount of physicality you have to deal with when defending corners, the quality that you have to deal with when defending corners, La Liga opposition should not be difficult. So that's it makes it doubly annoying for me, just that we're supposed to be good at this, and we would have faced much harder opposition to deal with, but it was a really well worked corner that it had a plan and they executed it well. And everything that you said, Mize, I think the weird thing is about one of the things that we do when we defend is we have this hybrid zonal man marking system, which clearly must work because, as I said, our record's quite good, but it was failing in this instance, right? Because Mari's just there in his zone, and others have got men, and someone is blocked quite effectively, and then then there's a problem. But it was a good corner by Villarreal, I guess.
It was a good corner, but a top team in a semi-final you need your defenders and your players to be switched on at set pieces. And Mari just, it's not that he wasn't switched on. I think he was just very confused about what he had to do. Because I think he looked alert. He just
It's worrying.
Didn't pick him up. But then Partey as well, he just completely lets the man go, and he's ball watching when on the flick on comes in, and he just lets the man running behind him, and he goes and gets the final touch. It's just not acceptable.
No, it looks like we had a bit of a we did obviously have a bit of a mountain to climb at that point, and we were wondering what is, because we just didn't turn up again really, and wondering what kind of scoreline this might end up as. We don't need to talk about it because it was an obvious handball, but Pepe was quite lively actually, wasn't he? He had a decent game, obviously, apart from the penalty. Just generally he was making good runs, and yeah, I guess a little bit unlucky in the sense, it kind of comes off his arm without. I'm talking about the penalty that was overturned. Sorry, that was overturned for handball against Pepe, but yeah, it was a bit unlucky with it. But like I said, yeah, he had a decent game, and we go in at halftime 2-0 down, and I'm guessing Arteta must have given them an absolute rollicking because they came out second half. I wouldn't say they came out all guns blazing, but it was a big improvement, wasn't it, from what the first half was. But we kind of shot ourselves in the foot a bit, and probably a bit unlucky with what I don't know. Was it a harsh decision from the ref? I mean, the first yellow for Ceballos was a clear one. No arguments with that. He pulled back the guy and for their free kick. But the second one, but he's late. I don't know. I'm not sure about this one. He's late on the tackle, and I think if that was against us, we'd be screaming for a yellow there for the other player. Do you think that was the ref was being a bit harsh?
I said it was harsh. I mean, it's one of those where I think in the Premier League, when a player is already on a yellow, the ref doesn't usually give a second yellow.
Gives him a warning,
yeah, he just says actually you don't do it. But I'm not annoyed at the ref for giving it. Put it that way. I don't think the ref made a huge mistake by giving it. You can see why he gave it. It's understandable. But what did you make of Arteta not taking him off at halftime? Or when he was on the yellow, do you guys think he should have come off?
Yeah, I think that's it's gone. Yeah, no, sorry. I just felt like back you talking about half time. It just feels like a sort of common theme for Arsenal in the last few months anyway, that we start off really bad. We think Arteta must
brother, you weren't listening. Listen. Listen, mate. That ain't the question, brother.
No, I'm coming on to it. So
it's coming on.
So at that point, I thought, so half time, obviously he had a massive go, and I thought then would have been the right time to sort of change the formation around and bring on a striker. And I think ideally, because Ceballos was booked, I would have thought get rid of him and maybe put Saka into midfield at that point, and sort of change it around at half time. So I would have personally tried to bring on Martinelli or Aubameyang and probably taken off Ceballos and change the system about a bit, because it definitely wasn't working first half, whatever we were doing. So I would have sort of tried to,
So the reason I ask is in the post-match press conference, a few of the journalists are reporting that Arteta was just about to take off Ceballos before he got sent off. But he didn't get around to it.
Didn't get around to it. What does that mean?
Basically, it ran out of time.
Got distracted.
How many minutes after half time did he have?
Yeah. So
I think at half time though,
minutes. Yeah.
I'm not. So if he wanted to change it for tactical reasons, that's one thing. So Nira, I think your point, yes, if Arteta thought I need to change something tactically at halftime, yeah, fine, that's one thing. Because Ceballos was on a yellow card, I don't think that. There's a lot of players who get yellow cards in the first half, and if you don't want to jump the gun too quickly, you just sort of tell them, listen, mate, take it easy. But I think then the concern was he made a foul really soon afterwards, didn't he? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Then
and then you got a problem, because you're basically in a situation now where if he does one half challenge, then the referee, from a tossing up basis, can do it. The only thing, Aaron, and I'd say, I know. The only thing in defense of Ceballos is when he got sent off, I don't really see what else he could have done in that situation. He was basically just He was basically
the
just
ball.
it was a natural stride, and it just happened to touch a player in that instance. Like, so that's that.
But again, he's
was,
saying if you were the other way around, we would have been like, book him, send him off.
maybe, but that would have been our
he shouldn't
biasness.
have.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. It's
He
like,
shouldn't have given the. He gave the referee a decision to make. He shouldn't have given the referee a decision to make.
But then, did he do anything wrong? It's not like
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
He couldn't pull out of it.
It was late,
I'm saying,
right?
Come on, that is still a yellow card. It's still a foul, 100%. Like you can't not. Like he's trod on his ankle. I think even if you're late or even if it's accidental, that's always going to get given as a foul.
I'll have to see it again, Wes, because I agree. But like it looked, I'm going to have to see this again clearly, because it looked to me like he literally was. That was in the process of him literally just getting in his stride. Like he was kind of coming down, and he couldn't. I didn't understand how he could have moved elsewhere.
It's not. We're not saying it was intentional. It wasn't intentional, but he still caught the player.
But then it's a second yellow though to be sent off. Like. That's a foul.
If he was given a warning, if he was given that warning, start of the second half,
maybe.
The ref was pretty bad, wasn't he, throughout the game? To be honest, some kind of odd decisions, and he wasn't very good tonight. So you could probably not surprising that he didn't maybe use a little bit of common sense. They'll almost give him that last, one more chance kind of thing, which a lot of refs do tend to do, like you said, especially in the Premier League.
It's naivety, isn't it? That's the thing, because. When you go away, like in Europe, you have to not only be aware of like the teams and the style of playing, and we know in Spain, the team they like to go down easily, they like to make the most of fouls, they like to emphasize any little bit of contact, and the referees they're different to the way the referees work in the Premier League. They let some things go, but this referee was getting his yellow card out for almost everything. But then there were times where I thought, well, that's a clear yellow card, and he didn't do anything. So, you have to deal with it, and Ceballos didn't.
No.
Just going to, I guess the change from the first half to the second half. Like what was quite interesting was I thought the comments from Arteta after the game, because usually I think he comes across quite honest, and I think he does say. This, like, I got it wrong. There's times where he goes, listen, like, I got it wrong. My mistake. I take full responsibility, etc. Like, but he did seem very clear, and even Saka's interview seemed very clear that they just did not play in the way that they were almost told to play. Like that, even Saka was scathing.
We hear this all the time now, right? We hear this. We heard it so many times before. It's getting boring.
I know what you say. I agree with you. When before the game, the whole conversation, we saw the lineup was false nine, right? That whole thing, right? So it was all about the false nine thing. And then when you looked at it in the first half and you saw how we had no attacking potential, then the concern was at that point, is it because of this false nine formation, right? Yeah. Is it because we're not playing a striker? Is that the problem? But from the comments of Saka and Arteta, it would indicate that wasn't the issue. The issue was just actually that we were being rubbish in terms of, actually being brave enough, actually getting bodies in the box, doing the things that we were meant to do, as opposed to,
But who's supposed to do that? None of them are natural strikers, right? So quite often I saw ball goes out to Chambers. He crosses. Sometimes he did some good crosses, and so did Pepe. But no one's in their natural striker instinct attacking the ball or going for the header.
I agree with you.
And it's like the first time probably players are playing, or like, Smith Rowe is probably playing in that position as your false nine. And it's just, I thought if you're going to start as in like, you're the Everton game, if you wanted to experiment to try out stuff like this, if you try out there, if it wasn't working, then you don't play it here. Or if it did work. So I didn't understand why he started Eddie in that game and then completely sacked him off for this game. And so surely that would have been like your precursor to this game, your audition for this game. So that would have confused a lot of the players as well, because it's a new system that they haven't played before, and you don't go into a Europa League semi-final and play a completely new system.
But hypothetically, let's just say he thought to himself, I'm going to play a system against Everton and I'm going to play the same system against Villarreal. Hypothetically, if that was a plan. And what if he looked at the Everton game and was like, wow, that was rubbish. I can't do that on Thursday. So what if the intention was actually initially that he wanted to play that?
Yeah, but then you'll find you'd go for a plan B. You wouldn't go for a plan which you've never ever
plan Z.
done. Plan Z that you've never tried before in any game.
I don't think we're like in the
Yeah, but at
history
least-
of Arsenal
yeah.
Football Club we've ever played without a
The
striker.
false nine.
Like,
Yeah.
we've never played that false nine. Wenger never played it. I don't think Emery ever played it.
Nah.
Well, we played with some bad number 9s, so they've basically not really been there.
Fake nines, yeah.
So it's just like
I agree.
you can't just again like play instructions. You can't put in a new formation. The manager give instructions and expect the players to follow it if it's the first time they're doing it. It doesn't work that way. It takes 4 or 5 games to get used to a different system. So if that is their excuse, then I think that's a poor one where they're saying players didn't follow instructions because they probably didn't know how to follow the instructions.
Yeah, that's kind of irritating me with Arteta a bit. Is he thinks our players are like very tactically fluid. They can switch systems game by game. I just don't think they're good enough or smart enough to do that. And even Pep can do it because he's got 50 million pound players in every position. And if he wants to, sometimes he'll play Cancelo and sometimes he'll play Walker, and it's fine because they're 250 million pound right backs, right? And they can do that. With us, we're playing a back 4 of Xhaka, Holding, Marie, and Chambers. And we've got inexperienced players all over the squad. We've got players who are not on form, and then he just decides to play in a European semi-final system, which is so radically different to anything we've done. And I understand, right? I think there's probably an element of truth in what you said, in that I reckon he probably was going to try and go with Nketiah, but then he saw this wasn't working. So he tried something different, but it just seemed too different to me. And I think he should have abandoned it a lot quicker because it wasn't working. I don't think we had did we even have a single shot?
Mate, so basically, not even that yet. From a open play, the Oba shot was the first shot on goal on target.
Yeah, we were shocking top forward. We've got a sense of calm because we've got away with it, but let's not take away from how bad the attacking performance was. And like it's Villarreal, their defense isn't great, their fullbacks aren't great, and I think there was a bit of a plan to try and get at their fullbacks, but we executed it so badly. And you can blame the players for not executing the plan, but
how
you have to look at the plan as well. Yeah,
like you saw, like when Aubameyang came in, Partey played that ball into him right at the end. That was a brilliant ball, but he couldn't do that all game because there's no one running past the last defender. So Partey's not being able to play at his best or do what he can do. Neither can most of the other players. It's just those 2 minutes that Aubameyang had, we showed what we could have done if he had even another 10 minutes on the pitch. He might have got another couple of chances and could have got a goal. So this just like I said, for me, as I said before, halftime was like the latest I thought you could have brought a striker, even Martinelli, to at least go at their defense, because their defense was comfortable, to be honest, first half.
I agree.
Yeah, let's talk about the penalty then, and Saka specifically. I mean, for me, we talked about Saka all season, how important he is for us, how important he's been. He's obviously, I don't know where we'd be without him. Basically, I don't think we'd be struggling massively. But he obviously did really, really well for the penalty. It was a good run. I personally, I thought he kind of bought that penalty. I think it's one that I might need to see a couple of times. You guys are agreeing, so fair enough. Yeah, it was one of those ones like the Harry Kane ones. Probably not as exaggerated, but Harry Kane tends to leave his.
I was just about to say it was a Harry Kane penalty.
Yeah. It's really smart. We need to be doing that more often, right? Like,
I mean, Freddie said it, and Freddie was like, "Yeah, that's the sort of thing that I would do."
Oh, okay. I did tell him. Okay. Yeah. So it was smart from him, and thankfully it was given. And Pepe slots it away. I think he was just hit it straight down the middle, didn't he? So you kind of back Pepe in those situations, don't you? He's pretty calm from the penalty spot. He's pretty good. And I mean, look, this goal now changes. I know there was the Villarreal sending off as well, Capoue. But just before we get into that or the rest of the game, this goal now kind of changes. Not kind of, it does. It completely changes the complexion of the tie, as I said, and gives us a fighting chance. I mean, I just thought it was interesting what you were. More than a fighting chance, but I thought it was interesting what you just said, Aaron, about you were saying, probably paraphrasing a bit here, but their defense isn't very good, their fullback's not very good. But this is the thing that I think I've realised and have accepted is that neither are we. You know, neither is our defence, neither are our fullbacks. They're not particularly great, and we kind of like we still have this.
Yeah.
We are Arsenal, therefore we are like top four. I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but I think we still have this mentality where we're going into these ties. Like even Raj, I think you said in the preview, they're 7th in La Liga, so they're obviously they're not great. And you're probably right, they're not great, but we're probably worse. Not necessarily worse when you go head to head and when you go on paper, but if you look at the performances this season, you look at how many games has this team turned up for versus how many have they not, and how many games have they actually scored in, and how many games have they actually performed in. We've been rubbish, and I think it was just another one of those games where opposition were up for it more, and yeah, they might not have better quality players than us, but that's not what it takes to win a game of football, right? Unfortunately, as we keep seeing time and time again this season.
I don't understand why the opposition would be more up for this game than we would be. Like, we're fighting for our season here, so are they. Like, this is our only chance of.
I think that's the point, right? That's the point I'm making. Is that
why? Yeah, I agree. Yeah, why is it that we're not? That's the question.
And that certainly was what
motivation.
But it felt like that in the first
Everton.
half, for sure. It felt like that in the first half. I looked at them and I thought, "There's one team here who looks like they really, really want to win this."
They want it, yeah. Like, I guess Everton, I kind of get it. Like, this is not what we're fighting for. Everton's they're only in the league. They're fighting for it. Same against West Ham. But for us, this is our like cup final, right?
I mean, I was talking about this.
Final, we should be completely pumped.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about this a few weeks ago, right, or probably even longer than that, when we were much earlier in the Europa League kind of knockout round, and we were talking about what do we prioritize? What does Arteta prioritize? If it comes down to we're not doing great in the league and we progress in the Europa League, and I was sort of the opinion, yeah, he's obviously going to prioritize, let's say, the Europa League as that's how it's transpired, but it's very difficult to prioritize one over the other when you need to build that consistency in terms of performances. You come into the crunch end of the season, it's the run in, and even if you don't have the performances, the results need to be there, right? Even if you're not playing all that well, you need to be, you need your striker to be on form, or you need to have a couple of your star players firing. And we haven't had any of that. We haven't had consistency in terms of team selection. We haven't had consistent results. We're not creating chances. We're not scoring goals, like nothing. There's nothing kind of there in the last, if you look back at the last 5, 6, 7 games, it's been very inconsistent. And this is the issue, I think not this is the issue, but this is one of the problems, going from a league game, the last couple of league games, Fulham and Everton, into this game. There's no, like, these players have come to this game almost like we've been shit. We've been rubbish for the last couple of games. And then it's really hard to just turn it on. In my view, I think it's really, really hard to just turn it on for a big semi-final. Maybe I'm not saying that's an excuse, because it's not, but maybe that's a contributing factor. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, but I agree with that, but I disagree with the fact that they weren't up for it. Because I think that makes it seem like the players don't care, or the players don't want to win, or they aren't willing to do more for the team to help us win. What I see is a team, especially going forward, that maybe like what you said, Myers, is that they are so inconsistent in terms of team selection, in terms of tactics. They do not have a clue how to build an attack and how we want to attack. It changes every game. Sometimes we play over, we play balls into over. Sometimes we have Lacazette that drops deep. Today we didn't even have a striker. Sometimes we play Pepe, sometimes we play Saka, sometimes we play Smith Rowe. This is a team that, Arteta's been here a year and a bit now, and we still don't know, A, what the first choice front three or front four actually is, what he really wants us to do, how he wants us to play going forward. And I know we have injuries and fine, but I think this is a team that, when you look at how we attack, is just confused. And then you look at how we defend. Sometimes we press, sometimes we don't press. Tactically, I think we're all over the place, and you have to blame the manager for that. I think you get a manager, you get a manager who has played the same front four or front five and attacks the same way, plays the same back four. Nero, you talked about it before, like that consistency of the centre backs. I think we have a much more cohesive idea of how we want to play.
I agree with you, and I that's also a massive factor, right? It's going to obviously play its part, and it doesn't help the players. I completely agree with you, but I just think for whatever 11 are going out there, like even Saka said in his post-match interview, like I think he said something like we were second to every duel, and he kind of talked about that. You shouldn't be second.
He was very specific things as well. He said we're better than them.
Yeah,
like, we are better than they are. Like we need to play like we're better than they are.
That's what. So, but they didn't, right? They didn't, especially in the first half. So it's kind of like
the tactics are wrong.
I don't think
you can't just blame the tactics, mate. Like I don't know,
man. The key thing Aaron said today is the confusion. And I think even though they tried to play, they were confused. Like,
yeah, but why would you be second in a 50-50 or in a duel, whatever the tactics are? Like, as an example, like if you got Thomas Partey going up against their central midfielder and he's losing every single duel. I'm not saying that he did, but hypothetically or whatever. And that's half the problem. That's part of the problem. That shouldn't be happening. Whatever the tactics are, it shouldn't be happening. Whoever's starting, like I would expect, like Miguel Aziz to come in as a youth player and still put in 100% on the pitch and try his best, as it were. That is the minimum requirement. I'm not saying they weren't running, they weren't trying, they weren't tracking, all of that kind of stuff. But there's just you watch these games a lot now, and it just feels like there's not. I don't know. Is it passion? Is it fight? I don't know what you call it, but there's just something missing. Like
I think it's
European semi-final, right? They shouldn't need that much motivation. It's like
confusion, though, right? Is the fact that you're playing.
I don't know, mate. Like we all play football, right? We all play football, right? None of us are particularly good. We all play football at 7 aside, 5 aside. At the end of the day, you go on the pitch. You don't go out with tactics, but right? Like what the bare minimum that you need to do. I feel anyway. There's a bare minimum you should be.
Yeah, but 7 aside different. Right. 11 aside, like you normally get 11 aside, you get it to your striker, he scores. This time,
no, it's not different, though, is it? There's no difference when you're on the pitch as a player on the pitch, right? There's absolutely no difference. I don't think so. Yeah, okay, maybe the tactics are confusing, maybe the lack of consistency in the team selection, all of those things that we talked about. I agree, they have a part to play. But if you watch this team, can you honestly say to me that these players are? I don't want to say putting in 100% because it's not that, but there's clearly something not there. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it's something that's not coming from Arteta. Maybe he isn't saying the right things to them to get them fired up for these games. I don't know, but
I disagree.
It shouldn't be the same performance. It shouldn't be the same performance you get against Everton, for example, in a league game that means absolutely nothing, to what you get in a European semi-final where everything's on the line. Basically, I think Raj, you're gonna say something.
Well, no, what I was gonna say is like I think you can say confusion is maybe the reason why we didn't do well from an attacking perspective in that first half. Like maybe you can put confusion down to that, but we didn't concede goals because we were tactically confused.
Yeah,
like the goals we conceded were not tactical confusion. It was
first one maybe.
I don't think
the first one, because if you think the first one, Pepe was way forward, right? So when we on their counter, Pepe was where.
But you said that the guy who scored was left alone. Like it was the point you made earlier, right?
Yeah, so I'm saying from when forward started running from start, if you rewind it back.
Okay, so if it was Partey, I can't remember who. I think someone might have said it was. I think someone said it was Partey.
No, Partey was in the box. That was like right.
Oh, the second goal.
What we're referring to here is in the first goal, at the beginning of the first goal.
Yeah,
we were pressing.
Pepe's pressing. Yeah,
Pepe was pressing.
But I'm saying, but we're arguing. We're debating about why that first goal wasn't necessarily down to tactics, but
confusion.
Not confused. Sorry, agreed with that bit. But I think I'm more talking about why we only had one shot in the 90th.
Agreed with you.
And like for example, if we had a striker there, people like Partey would have been looking for that pass earlier on in the game and picking out those passes. Chambers' cross, Pepe's crosses might have found an attacking player.
Yeah, it's fair. That's fair enough. And you could also say if we're better in the middle of the park, if we're winning more duels, if we're competing and fighting more, then we have more of the ball, and therefore we're going to end up creating more chances. Like it's a knock-on effect. I just feel like sometimes these players, don't come out with, like, you just don't see it enough. And we kind of excuse the league games because it's like, okay, we're focusing on the Europa League, so I don't really care what 11. No, I don't care. It doesn't really matter what 11 Arteta picks. From a tactical perspective, if those 11 players are not going to come out and almost just show that they want to win the game more than the other team, like they didn't show that today. Like we said it, right? They did not show that. Villarreal wanted it more. And there's a reason why that is. None of us really know why that is, but I don't know. I find it kind of, it's just tough to watch, really, and it's frustrating because
but we saw it in the second half in a positive way.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we did.
Exactly.
But 2-0 down by that point, right?
Yeah.
And a man down. So
agree.
Yeah. Okay. Obviously they got Capoue sent off as well. I can't remember what his first yellow was for. Do you guys remember? Can't remember. No, not that it really matters now. But obviously he's out of the second leg, which is good. And I mean, we'll just quickly. Was there anything else in the game, guys, that I've missed?
So the other thing that really annoyed me actually was after Capoue got sent off and we went at 10v10. I thought we were awful.
Yeah.
I thought Emery bought Moreno and he bought someone else on as well. And he brought on some fresh legs.
He brought on Coquelin at 2-0 up. It was quite funny.
Yeah, half time. But classic Emery half time stuff. Nice little throwback there. But no, I thought at 10v10 we were absolutely awful. Yeah.
So I do miss those days we actually make early subs.
yeah, exactly.
It was weird, Aaron, wasn't it? Because it was we were actually good when we had 10 men and they had 11, but when it was 10 and 10, like you say.
Again.
I don't know why. We just couldn't get the ball. We kept leaving Xhaka exposed, and I thought Xhaka did really well not to give away a penalty or let I can't remember his name now. That guy,
Chukwueze.
Yeah, Chukwueze. And again, you have to question the manager. You have to say, well, Emery brought on two players to be like, actually, it's going to be 10v10. I've got tired players on the pitch, and Arteta brought on Aubameyang at 10v10, I think. Or maybe just before.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
at 10v10.
But we didn't really get the ball to him, and it was clear it wasn't working. And I just thought again, really poor on his part. And
I don't know, man. I think it's a bit harsh because it's like he wouldn't have prepared his players specifically for a situation like that, and then bringing on Aubameyang in that situation when we'd already brought in Martinelli. You basically now put two strikers on the pitch when you've got 10 men. It's going to be harder to get them service because you're taking away midfielders, you're taking away creative players as a default, right? Aren't you?
Yeah, but we let them have the ball pretty much. I'm sure the possession stats in the last 10 minutes must have been 75% Villarreal, and I think we're very, very lucky not to concede.
Leno was really good, wasn't he?
And we should call that out, right?
Yeah,
because it's important because if we end up going through, like, it's important to recognize the fact that goalkeepers, defenders like Xhaka and that Aaron and what you just called out, doing a really good job at the end, and Leno doing that is really important.
Especially after the other day, right?
Yeah, especially when people are saying bring on Ryan instead of him. So
especially when people are saying buy Martinez back.
Yeah, well, I'll get him back. Yeah.
Sell Saka, buy Martinez. And I think it'll be interesting for the second leg as well now, because obviously no Ceballos, more than likely Xhaka is going to have to come back into central midfield, you would expect, which means that left back, thank God, goes to someone else. Hopefully it's not Saka. I'd like
hopefully it's Tierney.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, he might be back. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, he might be back. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? We could have a couple of players back. Like Luiz was on the bench today. Aubameyang might start. So it could be quite a different team that we put out next week. All right, guys. Well,
I think sorry.
Sorry.
I think the way, especially after the Slavia Prague game, when we conceded that late goal, and we ended up sort of might have been like a blessing because then we went the second leg and we had to go for it. So maybe going into the second leg 2-1 down, knowing we have to score, might hopefully force Arteta to play a more expansive attacking game plan from the beginning.
Do you think he will do that?
I'm a bit worried.
If he plays another false nine, mate, I'm not even going to watch it.
I'm a bit worried though, because I think he'll also look at it and go, but then if I can see 2 goals in this game, then I need to score 4. So I wonder whether he'll kind of think maybe I need to keep it really, really tight and keep it 0-0 for as long as possible, and then try and win the game 1-0. Do you know what I mean?
Wait, if he goes for that game plan,
back your team. If he goes with that game plan, we're going to
not surviving. We'll be here to record a podcast. There's no way we're surviving 90 minutes of watching that.
Yeah,
no,
we
right.
cannot go with the attitude of we continue to we have to go from the beginning. Yeah, handbrakes off from the first minute, like we did Slavia Prague, and just absolutely go for it. None of this false nine bullshit.
You'd like to think that Aubameyang's going to start that game. Hopefully he's back properly in a week's time. like you said, Tierney as well, which would be a massive boost, wouldn't it? And maybe Lacker's back. We don't know. So yeah, like let's see. There could be some positive team news over the next week or so. I mean, that leads nicely onto the game we do have on the weekend, Newcastle in the league on Sunday. I mean, what, rest everyone? Wrap them all up in cotton wool?
Yeah.
He won't though, will he? He won't. I mean, he obviously will rotate. And I know you can't, but you can, like, you can. Do you not think? Like, the players.
There's ever been a game I care about as less as this.
Exactly. It's so true.
Yeah. There have been
true,
League
though,
Cup
isn't it?
games I've
It's the
cared
most
more about
pointless game of
than
the season
Sunday.
for us. Yeah. It is the most pointless game of the season.
But it's a funny one. That do you think he'll play some players to get them fit? Like, will he play?
Yeah.
Oba?
So if I was him, I would bring on like Oba for the last half hour, maybe, just to give him a bit of match practice, match sharpness. And yeah, whoever else, everyone that started today, I'll just rest. Yeah. Maybe I'll play Cedric left back just to see how he fares there.
Yeah.
So I'll like test out stuff like that. Rest. Yeah.
I reckon he might give Tierney if he's close. Give him again, like
Well, not a full
a
game,
little
right?
bit, or give him the first 30 minutes and just take him off after 30.
We can't make that many subs.
Arteta's not making us start 30 minutes. Yeah, I will play.
Aaron if it's just roll on, roll off.
I would definitely play Martinelli.
Yeah,
I'll start Martinelli up front, and if it works, then I'll play him on Thursday.
No, but, I mean, like I said, if Aubameyang's back, it's almost like a pointless experiment, right? Do you not think? Like,
But he has to rest Pepe. He has to rest Pepe.
he has to rest Saka, I think. I mean,
Saka.
Saka's just getting. I was saying it in our chat as well. Saka's just getting kicked all over the park, and you expect that, right? Like, kind of play that he is and everything, but just worry if he starts another game.
Odegaard definitely rest.
That's what I'm saying. So
I
basically
don't
saying
think we've
let's
got
just
enough
rest the whole
players.
like
I don't think we've
front
got enough players.
and Thomas Partey.
I think we're gonna have to.
Oh, mate, he had his solitary fucking shot over the goal.
Oh my god!
And then his solitary pass to the right, which goes off. And
So we're gonna have to. We should insert the analogy here, Raj's analogy about Thomas Partey.
Oh god!
Oh, yeah.
He was going to that freshest rave, wasn't he? With that shot, he saw the doors.
Fuse.
He saw it. He saw the bouncer. He was like, "Yeah." Why can't he shoot properly? It's terrible.
We get shooting at the moment. His passing is awful as well. Everything's awful. Can't tackle, can't pass.
At least once a game, he'll pass it and he'll just like to nobody and he'll go off for a throw in. At least
He
once
doesn't
a
even
game
seem
he
that
does
bothered as well. He doesn't even seem to apologise. Just like, yeah.
I mean, did you really care in your first year of uni?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't turn up for lectures either. It's like these guys aren't turning up for fucking games.
They were all confused. Mate. That's why we're confused that first year.
Yeah. Shit.
Yeah. All right. So we've got Newcastle Sunday. It's not a particularly important game in the grand scheme of things, but we've got to play it. Let's hope we don't get any injuries, which is the main thing. But we'll do predictions just for bants, I guess. Nero, what do you reckon?
Newcastle are pretty shit as well, right? To be honest, but I still.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can Joe Willock play? Because I've read that he can. He can play.
I think they changed the rules, didn't they?
Yeah. That's what I was wondering. Okay. So yeah, sorry, Nero.
Yeah, I predict a Joe Willock winner. I'll go 1-0 Newcastle.
Okay. Are we at home or away? I honestly don't know.
We're away, I think.
Away, so we might have a chance actually.
I think we're away.
So no one knows. This is a professional outfit, isn't it?
We don't lose away, so I'll go. We're better away than home, so I'll say 1-1. 1-1. Sorry, changed my mind. 1-1.
Okay.
I'm gonna go. We're gonna lose 2-1.
I think we will lose 3-1.
God. Just to be different, I'll go for a win. I'll say 2-1 to Arsenal.
Willian hat trick.
Who's going to score for us? Yeah, that's the question.
Willian will play. He'll finally come good.
Thomas Partey is about time he smashes one in top bins. If he can save it for next Thursday, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Cool, boys. So guys, if you enjoyed the episode, well, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, please hit the thumbs up button. And share us with any other Arsenal fans, any other football fans that you think would enjoy listening to us. As always, we really, really do appreciate the support. All right, boys, thanks very much. And we'll see everyone after the Newcastle game. Take care.
Bye. Bye.